So glad to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about democratic design, as you say. And this company that I represent, IKEA, you said it's actually 1 billion visitors almost in all of our stores. It's 2 billion visitors in our website every year. It's kind of big, but what's fun is that we come from this very, very small place, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's called Älmhult, in the woods, southern parts of Sweden, 10,000 inhabitants. And I think that that's part of the magic of IKEA, actually, because what we do, of course, we do a lot of business, and you heard about that, all of the business that we make all of the time. But how do we do our business? It's by not focusing on business. We actually are a vision-driven company, and I think that's part of the success. What we do is to try to create a better everyday life for the many people all the time. And when we succeed with that, we get great business. That's a very simple idea, to be vision-driven, and it seems to work. When we work with design, and this is my everyday work, I have this small force of people. It's just 20 designers working at IKEA, employed actually. But it's about 2,000 people working with product development. So we do it in a little bit different way. And our mindset is not to do stuff. Because design to us is not about making things. It's about making things better. And to be able to do that, we have something we call democratic design. That's how we make things better. So what's so democratic about democratic design then, you could ask yourself. And I thought of that myself, and I came up with this lovely idea. Good design should be accessible for everybody. That's why we are IKEA. That's what we work with on an everyday basis. Why keep your ideas to yourself, or just for the few, when you could actually dig in and do it for everybody? That's one part. But lately, the last, I would say, 5-6 years, we're also talking about democratic design from another angle, and that is how we do the stuff from the beginning. How could we make the collaboration bigger part of how we do our design at IKEA? So we collaborate far more, we try to be far more transparent, to reach out to people like you guys, to all of other big companies and small, creative people all around the world, or agencies, to be smarter, because we see a need for that if we want to solve the problems of the future. So that's the democratic part of democratic design. Then, how do we measure what's good design at IKEA? We have 5 pillars in everything that we do. All of our products should live up to 5 things. And it's not either or, it's all 5 in all products. That's the hard part. And there's no shortcuts to this. It's actually just hard work. That's the only way to do it. One single product at IKEA takes up to 3 years to do. That's a typical amount of time for a low-price item. Most people think that, we buy from the shelf in China or somewhere. First of all, we produce most of our things actually in Europe still. We don't buy anything from the shelf. Everything is designed from scratch at IKEA. That's a big difference. And we also have our own value chain, so we could go into each and every part of those steps and, be smarter to make things happen. So if I take you through a very, very simple product like this one as an example of democratic design. Some of you may have heard this before, but I think it's still a good example. This is a carafe, water carafe. We call it 365 Plus because it caters for all of the days of the year. It's one of the basic items that we redid. And if you start off with the form part, it actually follows the function a lot. After all, we're Scandinavian, so we like that. And from out of our research then, because we did a lot of research just doing this simple part, we wanted to do a water carafe that would, fit into most homes and fit into the way that people behave around water and want to behave around water at home. Then we saw what's the biggest drawbacks of water carafes today. One of the things is actually how do you clean them? Most of them have a very narrow neck, so it's really hard to clean. That is something that we wanted to change. That gave the shape, actually, this wider shape. Another part is this diameter is not just coming from anything. Of course, it is, good in the sense that it's easy to produce. That's typically IKEA too, to have production in mind when we do things. but it's also from out of our research on all of the doors of fridges all around the world. Because we know for a fact that people want to keep their water in the door of the fridge, not inside of the fridge, but actually in the door. So what would be the perfect diameter that would fit in most doors of fridges around the world? That gave this shape, and also the height. Then, this narrow neck is perfect to put upside down and the height in a dishwasher, because nobody wants to clean by hand anymore. You want to use a dishwasher. That's why it looks like it looks like. So form and function. Quality then. It's very much the choice of materials. We wanted it to be long-lasting. We could, of course, done it in plastic, but it would be smarter to use something which is long-lasting. Plastic is not that long-lasting. This goes together also with sustainability, which is the fourth pillar. The choice of materials is everything is recyclable. It's glass, it's cork. The cork could be recycled a lot of times, because this is something that you could grind down and do something else out of again and again and again. And there's also something to cork, which is kind of lovely. You know, it's something that you understand from the beginning, that it's a stopper. You have a relation to stoppers. There should be cork. Huh? It's kind of easy. Instead of doing it in some other fancy material. Another story around cork is actually that there is too much of cork today in the industry. So the price has gone down, just because that the biggest users of cork is the wine industry, has gone over to other stoppers. So could we use this? It would be a way of saving also that industry of cork. So that's the choices for sustainability. But the biggest part of sustainability is not actually the choice of materials and how we produce it, because after all, we're kind of a small company. And if we could nudge people's behaviors instead, and that's why we did a water carafe, not a wine carafe. If we could nudge people's behaviors, those 2 billion plus 1 billion people around the world, to use more tap water at home. That's a big difference for sustainability. And this is something that we try to do nowadays when it comes to the fourth pillar of democratic design, is to nudging people's behaviors into something which is better for the future. Not just ourselves at IKEA. Of course, it's important what we do and how we produce, but it's even more important how we could get a use of all of those people out there visiting IKEA, and for them to lead a more sustainable life. So designing for sustainable life, it's important to us. Then, we talked about democracy. At the end of the day, it's of course important, how do you make those great ideas affordable to people? Because if it's just a great idea and people can't get a hold of them, then it's the pricing. And all of this is, you know, a big puzzle to get together. But I think we succeeded pretty well in this product, actually. It's a big seller. It came from nothing, and now it's one of our biggest sellers, just through the work of democratic design. And to me, democratic design is not just our tool for making design, it's also become our common language around design in our company. And that's a good thing, actually. Most of the companies that I visited when I was outside of IKEA had a big problem talking about design, because you come from different angles. And it's very, very subjective what you talk about. But could we have the same kind of starting point and standpoint of what is a good design inside of the company, no matter if you're working with sales, design, engineering, or production, whatever, you talk about it in the same way. That's a design-led company. To use the same language, that leads from out of design. So that's important to us. Okay, but this was just a product. How do we do it normally? Of course, we rely on research. Everybody's doing research nowadays, aren't they? And we do a lot of research too. Actually, we do it together with big research companies, but most of it we do ourselves. What's new to IKEA is that we share our research with the rest of the world. So actually, if you haven't seen this before, have a look. It's our research, it's our knowledge around life at home that we share once a year, is renewed. It's actually going to come something about play and the importance of play at home in a couple of months, which is a great new thing. Last one that we shared was about what makes a home. And you find it at lifeathome.ikea.com. Everything that we know, you should know too. Because if we share, we know that we're going to get good ideas from out of you guys back. And we need those ideas to be better. That's why we do it. Then, we're hands-on. We're IKEA. We like to work. We're from Småland, this place where you only work all the time. And how we do research, actually, on an everyday basis, is far more about first-hand visits to people. Everybody employed at IKEA do home visits. So you could imagine 183,000 people working for IKEA doing home visits all around the world. I do home visits. Every time I travel, I'll try to do home visits at the same time, just to get to know the problems, the everyday problems of people, and how we could help out there. And also to see the life situations of people. You know, it makes you curious around things. What is actually out there? What are the biggest things that we could change for the future? Right now, I would like to share with you some things that we're curious on from out of our research, something that we have learned. We, of course, know that people live in very small spaces. That's a big problem. It's an increasing problem, too, because due to urbanization, you know, you're going to have smaller spaces. That's the fact. So how do we take that on? We went to space. We're kind of curious about the most cramped place in the world and actually work together with the guys who's doing the Mars habitats. So what are we going to learn from that is things that we're going to bring to normal people in our small, normal world of Terra. We're curious about senses. We could see that people are more and more interested in tactility of things, actually. The small parts that you don't see from the beginning. How could we do something about that when we're a mass-producing company? Food. I don't know if you've tried it out there, our food lab, which is here. What we're going to do, we're going to turn our business of food around a lot the coming years. It's going to be far more vegan than you have seen before. For sustainability reasons, of course. And also for the reasons of demand from other people. It makes sense to serve this kind of food. So right now, we're exploring a lot in our food labs all around the world what could be. And this is instant pickling. Try it. If you haven't tried it, it's really, really good. Another thing we have tried together with Pita and Ake. And I don't know if you can see those. It's lovely pieces, actually. And it's about this thing that you love most about IKEA, which is, of course, that we have those great prices. Those great prices we achieve from out of doing mass production. But the drawback of that is that you're not kind of unique. And we know for a fact that people want to be far more personal than they used to do. So how could we tweak that? Could we actually do mass-produced uniqueness of the future? So that's what we have explored together with Pita and Ake here. And I brought some samples of just, you know, these ordinary glasses. We made them in such a way so every single piece that comes out of that gigantic machinery that does millions of glasses a week is different from each other due to the way that we do the mold. What's good about that then? You tell me. No. If you work with design, one of the most important parts is actually that you want to create a relation to the object. And if you force people to choose between different objects, then you instantly create that relation. And then you have a tendency to stick to that product for a longer time, which is good for sustainability reasons too. So the more we could create relations to the objects that we sell, although they're mass-produced, because we want to reach out to as many people as possible, the better it is for our environment in the future. Because mass production is still the most efficient use of material, done in the right way. More, you were talking about teenage engineering. Love them. Guys from out of Sweden doing synthesizers for Kanye and others. We're working together with them on a collaboration around party. Because we could actually see that party is something which is important to people. I want to celebrate. Could we help people to celebrate? And that's what we have done. So this is a collaboration around pieces for partying. So this is actually a Tyvek things that you see there. the typical Fracta bag done in Tyvek. It's kind of nice, silver Tyvek. And lighting units, which are gorgeous. See if you come to them also. These ones, which have sensors in them, actually sensing the music and the surroundings. So they're going to adapt to what is happening around you in this party. And they look very professional together with freestanding stands and stuff too. They're kind of cool. It's the first time we show them, actually. I love them a lot. There are other important parts of your home. Pets, for instance. This is the thing that we learned. There's a lot of people having pets at home. Why don't we do something about it? IKEA, we're here to help. Usually those things look like crap, so we try to do something which is looking good instead. I have 2 cats of my own. You know, it's a hard time to find good stuff. So we did a collection around pets, actually, we are trying out in some markets right now, and it's going to hit all of the global markets too for the future. Done from out of extensive research on how do you work with cats and dogs in the best way at home. More fashion. Yeah, the other day we had this guy. I don't know if you know him. It's Virgil Abloh from Off-White. He's all over the place right now, especially if you're on social medias. He was there exploring actually what we could do for young people in the future. And for students living, we want to make them aware of design again. And this is the thing that we want to learn from out of fashion. They seem to have a better relation with young people than we do. So this is the first sample that we did for it's a small version of a carpet, actually. Keep Off, together with Virgil, for his brand of Off-White. I think it's kind of lovely. We want to get young people interested in design for their homes again, and their homes interested, or interested in their homes again at all. We're curious about place. What is that? We do a collaboration together with Africa. No, not together with Africa. But we have looked upon actually what is happening in big cities, urban areas of Africa right now, which is exploding of creativity. So from 7 different countries all over Africa, we have 13 different creatives that we work together with on a new collection coming up for the future. And that is all about those new urban, we call it, what do we say? Urban movements? Or rituals, actually, urban rituals. This is one of the things coming up there. This is from Issa. He's from the Ivory Coast. He's an architect there. It's a lovely piece in all plywood. And everything is going to be open source because we don't have any stores in Africa from out of IKEA. Just actually in Egypt and Morocco. So we do it open source. Everything is designed in a way so it could be produced locally if you want to do it yourself. That's the choice of this material here. Inclusiveness. We have an aging population. There's more and more people who need physical aids. So we're actually designing a range for people with this extra physical aids. Things that are easier to eat with and live with for those kinds of people. We're curious about job making, the most important part of the world, of everything, I would say, to create jobs for people. How could you do that? This is from Jordan, a refugee camp where we work together with women there. Sent our designers down to create jobs, set up small-scale factories that will be big-scale factories in the future. Because living as a refugee, you're not just there for months, you're actually there for years. That's the sad story. So could we help out? We try to do that. Then technology. We're here at this tech place. I'm proud to say that we came with wireless charging 2 years before Apple. It was not the big seller at the time. It might be now. We have this trådfri range. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's kind of cool. And this week we actually introduced speech recognition, and you could speak to our trådfri range through both the Amazon and the Apple version, Siri and Alexa. augmented reality. Yeah, of course you should do, if you don't want to live in a real home, live in an augmented home instead. So what is the big problem of today then? Finishing off. Because where we find our business is from out of finding problems of real people out there. We saw one coming up due to a lot of facts, but off the grid living is something that we want to do something about. More than 2 billion people around the world actually don't have access to electricity, water, or communication. That's a whole lot. Then we could see an increasing amount of people who wants or who chooses to be off the grid too. Actually, in the Western world, mostly. I don't want to be part anymore. I want to be self-sufficient. So could we do something about this and solve both at the same time? So we're taking on that small problem, and we can't do it on our own. So we decided to do it together. This is actually part of our crowd in Älmhult, in our Democratic Design Center sitting there. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it together with friends. And I'm proud and very happy to say that the friends to do this collaboration that we're going to see actually or show off to the world in this summer, next summer, in June, in Älmhult, is Wired UK. So we're going to do it together with them. I think that's really cool. And since we are IKEA and we're going to teach Wired too, talk is cheap, work is hard. We have already started. We've done a series of workshops here together, just showing them off. Last night, we were doing it together with RCA here, down in the cellar, just to show, what could be of the future of off the grid. And now I've been taking far too long time, as I could see. So we're going to do it in Amsterdam, Lausanne, London, Stockholm, Shanghai, Berlin, and of course, Älmhult. We're part of the world. That's where we're going to do those workshops, together with you guys. Thank you.